things you probably did not expect to say, with the reigning NBA champs having home floor advantage in their second round series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That thing is that the Timberwolves win both games to start this series in Denver. Minnesota heads back to the Twin Cities with a 2-0 series lead. And not just a 2-0 series lead, but doing so in dominant fashion in game number 2. The Timberwolves win by 26. They led by 30-plus at certain points in game number 2, stifling and suffocating defense even without Rudy Gobert, as the Timberwolves take that 2-0 series lead with a 106-80, a 26-point victory margin in game number 2. Minnesota wins outright as a 6.5-point underdog.
This is one of the things where you take a look at the Minnesota Timberwolves and the evolution of what they think they're going to be as a playoff contender, Ben. We always talk about with OKC and some of these teams that haven't been there before, and that's why we're bringing up Minnesota right now. This was that first-round series where, again, they were disrespected. They were the home team, the higher seed against the Phoenix Suns, and still an underdog, and wiped them off the court in 4 games. So now we said, okay, That was Phoenix. Even though Phoenix has some world-class basketball players, it wasn't if you just put aside like a random team here. Phoenix was expected to do damage this season, weren't able to do anything because of how good the Timberwolves were. Then we saw game number 1, okay, caught Denver a little bit off guard, but now you're going to see Denver in game number 2 in what I always like to call a kitchen sink game. You can't go down 0-2 on your home court and expect to win a series. And then also that little ray of light in the afternoon, Rudy Gobert looks like he's going to be questionable, one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Now it's setting up for the Denver Nuggets to get back into the series. But you know what I love the most about last night? Not the overall defense. It's the way Minnesota played right out of the gate. You could have had one of those, hey, we got to ride it out in the first quarter. Hopefully we're within 7 or 8 points, and then we can get after them. They won the first quarter by 8 points, and then they destroyed the Denver Nuggets in period 2, 33-15. Outrageous, man. To be up at the half, already up 1-0 and saying, we're the better basketball team, and we're not going to let you up. I was so impressed by the Timberwolves last night because you didn't even get their A effort on offense, but you got an A++ effort on defense without your best defender. That's awesome for the T-Wolves.
A+++++, keep going, plus. Look at the plus minuses of Minnesota's starting lineup versus that of Denver. The Nuggets shoot less than 35% from the floor, only 30% from deep. We'll talk about Jamal Murray and his struggles in this series in just a moment. But the game that had a total close at 209, once again, when we were speaking about this game yesterday, DRS, 24 hours ago, early in the morning, total was 205 and a hook. It had dropped by 4 points from the closing number of that opening game. It was on the rise all Monday long. News that Gobert would not be there after the birth of his first child, and that total rises up once again to only stay under as Denver scores 80 points, 35 only in the opening half, the opposite of what we expected for that resilient effort out of the Nuggets, the reigning NBA champs. Minnesota, by the way, games 3 and 4 in Phoenix, a slight underdog in the Valley. They went outright in both. 4.5-point underdog, game number 1 in the Mile High City. They went outright. A larger underdog yesterday because of that kitchen sink effect, expecting Denver to hold serve on its home floor. 6.5 points was the closing spread after Gobert was ruled out. And Minnesota wins outright. 4 consecutive games booked as an underdog. The Timberwolves win outright, led by Anthony Edwards and AnthonyTowns, each combined to score 54 points as each pour in 27. Anthony Edwards, DRS, is emerging as a superstar, if not already there. Of course, he scored 43 in game number 1. Back-to-back 40-point performances because he scored 40 in the closeout game, number 4 against Phoenix. The only player other than Kobe Bryant to be 22 years or younger and score 40-plus in back-to-back games in NBA playoff history, and he continues to lead the way for Minnesota.
You know, in the regular season, we always know that some of these younger guys need to step up, and we could call them superstars and also, hey, all-stars at this point. But how to cement your legacy as one of the game's better players? Do in the playoffs. Do it in series like the Phoenix Suns where you're like, okay, they might have better talent. You don't trust us. Watch us blow the doors off them and watch me have great performances. In series number 2, going up against the NBA champions who you got to beat them on their home court and win those first 2 games here. Ant-Man is now on the national stage. He's always been there, but now you're taking a look at some people that don't pay all that much attention to the NBA, settling in going, let me watch this. What is all the buzz about for Anthony Edwards? And he's been absolutely tremendous. And last night, you didn't even need his A game, but still, 11 of 17 for 27 points. We're looking at that going like, that's a game. That is a tremendous playoff game for a young player here that we're now expecting just to routinely go into the 30s at that point. He has been great, but also, if we flip over the other side, right, and you take a look at the Denver Nuggets, we know you need Jamal Murray to step up in big moments. You're never going to win any basketball games, Ben, with Jamal Murray going 36 minutes, 3 of 18 from the floor, and also included Michael Porter Jr., 1 of 7 from three-point range. That's where you get those easy assists from Nikola Jokic, where he plays at the top of the key. You make your open jumpers. If we're going to get these type of performances moving forward, could we see the Minnesota Timberwolves with 8 playoff games and 8 straight victories against quality opponents? I'm not going to rule that out now. They look that good right now.
And as you look at the series numbers, that is the expected outcome. Minnesota in 4 is plus 100.
Wow.
Series total games market 4. That's a sweep over the reigning NBA champions. That is expected, the shortest price at even money. Do you want to take a moment, Donnie, to talk about Nikola Jokic, or you want to just forecast the rest of the series?
Yeah, we're going to forecast the rest of the series because it doesn't look good. Even
enough.
yesterday, I was saying, like, this game is still going 7 games, and I don't even know if he gets back to Denver now after last night's performance.
Yeah, DRS had that triple-double number for the Joker yesterday. He had 7 dimes in the opening half, finishing with 8. It was a porous offensive performance. Denver was greater than a $2 favorite, minus 205 on Saturday, entering game number 1. Last week at this point, the Nuggets were an odds-on favorite to win the Western Conference title. Now the Minnesota Timberwolves are an odds-on favorite at minus 115 to win the West. Might Dallas or Oklahoma City have something to say about that as their series starts tonight in OKC?